Hey everyone, this is Nathaniel, and I just finished soaking in some information that I really wanted to flow, so I figured I would open up the channel and see what streams. So I had two really big feelings, the kind of collective ideas that came in. And so the first one is this idea of a huge contraction before a birth. And this is something that seems like it's going on collectively on a large scale for everybody, and people are experiencing it in their own individual way. But it has this theme of things being really tight and tense, intense, blocked, all of those kind of contracted feelings, just all that tightness, which we know is like that sensation before birth. Everything gets really tight and then it expands and it lets go and it flows. And so there seems like there's this really big precipice that we're on the edge of collectively, and we can kind of recognize this tightness, this contraction going on in several different places. This sense of lockdown, this tightness, we've seen through the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever, the fear of death. The fear of death is this kind of tightness, restriction, like everything's getting tight. The fear of the virus, I mean, that's part of it, but just, the virus really made that fear of death get more prominent. And then so the whole idea of like quarantine, social distance, tight, all those kind of things. After that, then we've had the protesting, and so there has been another sense of tightness. We've had curfews in cities, so like tightening the time and the restrictions on that end. Fear of the police, fear of oppression and prejudice, fear of the government. And in a lot of ways, it's fear of others. It's like every camp is afraid of the other, whatever the other is, for them. And so there's been this just general contraction, and it seems like it just keeps compacting, compounding. It's tightening, and so everything is feeling there's all that tightness that seems like it is all before a birth. It's tightening and tightening towards that release. And so it is very much this birth energy that is like we're right on the edge of, where something comes in that is very new. It has the tinge of freedom, of liberation. It's the idea of more freedom than you know what to do with, more freedom than your body has room for. And there's no daddy to direct anyone. There's no it's that total freedom. So it's like this angst and this restriction, compression, all of that before this breakthrough that is just like whoa, swept away, wide awake in some kind of freedom that is a birth of some sort. And this, if you think about it, when you push out a baby, after all those contractions, it's a huge force that pushes out that baby. So there's this huge force involved with that push out. So it's like compacting, tightening, and then some huge force that pushes out. It's also, in this process, something is being born, and whatever's being born is this idea of new, young, innovative, fresh, alive, all of that. There's something new, as this tightening and constricting like an eggshell is cracking and breaking, and it's symbolic of something that is old, it is rigid, it is outdated, and it's like it in a sense in some way dies, so that whatever this new energy is can be born, so that it's free, so that it's liberated. So that is very much this energy that I was soaking in, and noticing collectively in the stories of individuals I know and in collective situations and individually. So I thought that I would share that to see if that resonates for what anyone else can see or experience going on in the world. But just to kind of give it a broader frame of reference, and make it a little less intense, because it's feeling, all of these contractions are increasing the tension, the compression, the contraction, this feeling of blocked, like you literally have this baby blocking up the birth canal, and it is intense. And so all of these heavy aspects are kind of feeling in again: fear, anger. You think about earthquakes, fault lines. Whose fault is it? These breakdowns before this breakthrough. And so it's fresh, it's new. Wow, new world, new baby, new fresh energy. But again, it's like at the beginning, it's more freedom than you know what to do with. When a baby arrives on the scene, it's like, wow, it's a whole new world, and I want to enjoy it all, but I'm a baby, and I can't grasp everything. So there is this sense of this newness, this freshness, this liberated energy that is finding its way, sparking alive, but it's got to learn how to walk. So we have a while after this breakthrough of learning how to walk, and we'll learn in some parts by looking back at what was old, back at what has passed. To build from that in some ways, but it's got to be something that is fresh, young, alive. And there's an irony that when you are born, when there's a baby born, what once was one, seemingly with the baby inside the mother, is two separate things. So there is a sense of separation to this birth. It's like, two extremes, but at the same time, once it's born, there is also the feeling of union. There's a paradox that's reconciled of separating and unifying at the same time, and realizing that opposites are holding on to opposite ends of the spectrum together collectively as one complementary pole. And speaking of that, the second big idea that came through feels metaphorically like a polar shift, but I'm not saying it's literally a polar shift. But if we think about in the zodiac or astrology, all axes are made out of two poles, two opposite signs. The big notion that I was soaking in has something to do with memory release, and it's related to the contraction and the compression and all of that. That is, all of that energy is tightening and contracting and getting heavier. It, in a sense, is compounded karmic interest. It's compounded karmic interest over time, related to traumas, physical traumas, emotional traumas, spiritual traumas, mental trauma, all the traumas that left a mark. They've left an imprint, in some sense of cause and effect, involving a memory and a feeling that's gotten embedded, and it's stuff like fear and hate and pain. And so times in past lifetimes where we were on the run, or we had to hide, or we were beaten, or whatever. Even in this lifetime, all the trauma is part of this compression, contraction, all of that. And it can get stored in the body as pain. So different pains in different places and different areas, related to different traumas from different experiences, different lifetimes. All of that is compounding. But at the same time, I talk about something new being born. The feeling that comes with this idea of a memory release is that being dissolved and cleared. All the pain body, the fear of death, the intense anger, the frustration, the confusion, all of the swirl of intense emotions that are wrapped up in this tightly held, compacted, compounded trauma and whatnot, memory, is getting ready through this birth to be dissolved and cleared. And the feelings of that is such, like it's the metaphor of Christ consciousness, Jesus Christ dying for the sins of everyone. It's the idea of Neptune in Pisces. It's that sense of dissolving, washing away, letting go, surrendering, sacrificing, as in getting rid of or giving up, giving over that trauma, this letting go. It's atonement, which is at one meant to put everything back together as one. And it's the idea of forgiveness. And it's all of those compassionate qualities that are wrapped up in the concept of Christ consciousness, astrologically Neptune, Pisces. But so this seems like we're on the precipice of all of this trauma and compacted density dissolving, getting washed away, clearing in some sweep of some sort related to that birth of something new. And it's that idea of like a polar shift or flip. It's also the idea of like the moon, like getting erased. Moon erasure in some sense, that the moon is our personality, our magnetic rhythms. It's our past in a sense. It's all of our emotional body that's kind of been stored and circulating. And so somehow that like anything that's been moody or held in us is released, freed, cleared. It also feels like the little flash from the Men in Black, where like your memory is cleared, and it's a memory release. It's clearing the memory, very much like a circuit board or computer related. But then we all hold memory. Memory is magnetic. Magnetic is the element water. So again, that's why we've got all of this. It's the emotional body, it's the moon energy, it's Neptune, Pisces, water sign energy. But so this kind of clearing and erasure that's happening on an emotional, astral, trauma, past-related things, letting go of the past, surrender, forgive, all of that, that's clearing. And a side effect of this in some way is pain-free. That in some way that holding on to these memories that we store in our body, in our astral aura, wherever, that if they were cleared, that it clears the distortion in our field, that erases the pain. The pain that's held is related to the trapped trauma, emotion, memory, and in a sense karma. There's karmas in the water too. So it also has this quality that is like waking up from a dream. The same way when you wake up from a dream and like you can't remember, some of the details are fuzzy, and then you go about your day. There could be something collectively, this is just what I've been soaking in, but some kind of collective memory clearing, forgiveness, like, something that gets us somewhere, that like, the last something was like a dream. The last era was like a dream, or some kind of like amnesia or forgetting, or we don't remember something collectively, so that we are aware of something new collectively. Something new collectively being born, something old kind of cracking off, being cleared. So it's a collective memory. These things, I'm seeing it individually in places, but it feels very collective. So I'm sharing it in a collective sense. Another part with all of this, both of these two sides of the coin, with the memory release and the contractions before a birth, that if we don't let go, we break down. We can't go on. And so that is the metaphor of death, which can be many different things. It can be literal, figurative, etc. But if you can just imagine, if everything is moving into a new, fresh energy, it's a letting go, it's a rapturous energy of dissolving, clearing, birthing, all of that. If we are holding tight, staying tense, staying all of that, in that rigidity, it breaks. There's a flood of new energy, new information downloading, and this energy is clearing everything. It's zapping out stagnancy, and if your wiring is not malleable, it's too rigid, then when that much energy passes through it, it can short circuit it or like break it, explode it, disrupt it, erupt it. It can shatter, it can break down, it may die, it may, So it's this idea of a lot of new, fresh currency coming in, and if we're holding on to too much past, too much memory, if our memory is all filled up, we had a 1 terabyte hard drive and it's got 1 terabyte, we don't have any more room. So when you try to put more energy information in, it fries the circuit. So we have to delete, erase, clear some of that memory that's being used to store traumas, etc. So by accessing something new, we clear what is no longer needed from the past, let go, and that is what brings in this freshness, this liberation, this dissolving, this clearing, atonement, forgiveness, all of that, so that we can go on. Otherwise, we go off. We go off. You're holding on too tight, and that fear and that anger is essentially can become a self-destructive spiral. So it's that idea of holding on too tight, and the breaking down. The locking down, the fear, the sense of otherness. And so there's something that is unifying, reconciling a paradox that is involved with a sense of release, surrender, relaxation, expansion that's coming off the tail end of a tense, tight, blocked contraction, compression, compounding, compaction, all a contraction, all of that's past related, clearing, letting go, and waking up from a dream, dissolving, clearing, erasing, flashing, all of that. And I've been streaming all of these words because they're all related and they hit the psyche and the consciousness in the areas that the archetypes are active, I think. So I hope that this has been helpful, fun, entertaining, or something for somebody. But that is what's coming through. It all feels really great. I hope that we can continue to collectively embrace what is in the best and highest good for everyone and all, with love and toward life. And as always, if you don't like what's coming through the channel, you can feel free to change the stream. So have fun, and I hope that this was interesting. If you'd like to see more of my offerings, you can follow me on Instagram at @leadintogold, or visit my website, which is www.leadintogold.com. Thanks for tuning in.